Hey, welcome to another episode of Dying to Listen podcast presented by the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. Today we have the DaddyMac, Mac Daddy of all disc dyes, Chris Dennis from DaddyMac Dyes. So, welcome. Thank you for being on here.
Hey, I appreciate it, Dave. I've been wanting to do this for a while, man, ever since you first started. So it's an honor to be on, man.
So, I don't know how to announce you. Is it Daddy Mac, Mac Daddy, Mick Daddy, Daddy?
Yeah, DaddyMac Dyes. So my son is Mac, and being a kid of the late 80s, early 90s, crisscross was, I think that was actually probably one of my first cassette tapes that I ever got. So, Daddy Mac, for whatever reason, just kind of, it kind of stuck. And, I think when I first started dyeing, I was going by trail.or.park. So when you said it, it was trailer park, but, it was kind of a fun play on words. And then, for whatever reason, when I kind of got a little more serious about starting the business, Daddy Mac was weird. It was just like the first thing I thought of. And then, with my son, his name being Mac, it worked and it stuck.
Well, Chris, thanks for taking time out of your very busy day from saving children, dyeing discs, selling blank disc dyes and dye accessories, as well as playing disc golf and creating a disc golf course. How do you find time for all of this?
Good question, because I'm not super disciplined. It's something I've gotten used to. I've done so many odd jobs throughout my life. But this is the first time where it seems like everything that I'm doing is what I want to be doing, right? Like, I'm not going to an 8-hour a day job that I despise. When you're lucky enough to have something like that, it makes things, a whole lot easier to fit in a day when you enjoy what you're doing. The fire department, I joined about almost to the day, about 5 years ago now. It's kind of it was funny. Like, it's the only place in town with a gym, but you have to be a member to be able to use it. And it kind of started that way, and I got my first call as a firefighter. So we're in a small town, and they have a whistle that goes off. Anybody listening, if you might know about this, there's this horn that goes off for a fire call. So I'd been on the fire department about a week. It's volunteer, right? So whenever the call goes out, you might be able to respond, and you might not. So the horn goes off, and I live about a block away from the fire department. So I'm flying, I'm pulling my socks on, throwing my shoes on, throw some shorts on, and I sprint down to the fire department. And I'm the first one there. Nobody's there yet. The horn is blaring. I can't hear anything. It's so loud, and I don't have a key or a code or anything to get in the fire department yet. And so I got to stand there and wait. Finally, a couple of guys show up, and we go in, we throw a turnout gear and jump on the truck. And we're pulling out. I think this is probably summertime, so there's a lot of people in town. There's a little pizza spot right on the corner, and we jump in the truck and we head across the intersection there. Lights and sirens going, and this big group of people was right there on the corner, and they, we all like make eye contact, and they're giving us the go, and that feeling I got in that moment, I was hooked. I knew I was where I belonged and doing what I want to do. And it's just it's been a passion ever since.
That's awesome, because being a firefighter is a lot of work. And besides the gym aspect and that experience, what made you actually want to do firefighting?
It was one of those things. I don't know. When I was younger, I always looked up to those guys, I guess. I thought it was a really noble profession, and I didn't think much of myself for a long time in my life, and never thought I would be that person or good enough. You know, I in my 20s, I tended to be a screw up, and that just never seemed like it would be a reality. And then when I was 34, you know, I kind of started to get my act together, and I knew a few guys that were volunteers at the station here in Roscoe, and they kind of persuaded me to come down and told me about the gym, and yeah, I don't know, you know, what, just a part of growing up, and then once you realize you know, the importance of it to the community, especially a community like this that's all volunteer, and you know, these guys, they pour their heart and soul into this, and you know, it just kind of makes you want to do the same.
That is awesome, and I commemorate you. I don't know if that's the right word. Commend you for actually doing that. So that is awesome, and keep up the great work with that, and please stay safe. What actually got you into disc golf?
So I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. At least when I was younger, from about the ages of 5, I think, till I was 6th grade, 7th grade, maybe. But we had a park there. It was Kentwood Park. And my grandpa used to take me there to play in the playground. And I think, you know, there was a disc golf course that went around there. I think it was just one of those things that, like, hey, here, kid, you know, go do this, go run and get some energy out. And I started then. I think I was about 9 years old. My first disc was I think it was a blue Stingray, a blue DX Stingray with a yellow stamp, if I'm not mistaken. That's the first one that comes to mind that I remember. And yeah, just start, you know, we would go to the park, and I would go fling that thing all over the park, and it just kind of became a thing that I did. You know, I didn't play consistently from the age of 9 on, but it was always kind of a part of my life in various stages. You know, growing up, it was always something to do with friends, and so yeah, going on, you know, almost 30 years on and off a disc golf.
What does disc golf mean to you?
Wow. You know, I mean, obviously it means a lot, just, you know, in different aspects of my life. You know, it's for my own personal sanity, it's my happy place to get out on the course and go throw, whether that's with friends or my son or by myself. You know, so it means a lot for, you know, just my mental well-being and happiness. You know, obviously business-wise, it means a ton. And it's so nice to see the recognition I think that it's getting now. You know, like I said, being in the sport almost 30 years, you know, really had to, you know, you had to stick up for the sport a lot. You know, it was very, obviously to the outside world, it's this hippie sport with a bunch of guys just walking around and smoking weed. So, you know, to stick up for the sport and be like, no, it's really fun. You know, I never met anybody that went out and played a legitimate round that didn't thoroughly enjoy themselves. Maybe one or two, but very rare that I met anybody that didn't like it. But you know, to stick up for it for so long, and to have it be a part of my life, you know, to be able to see it grow the way it is, to see these pros now signing big contracts. You know, disc golf was not and part of the reason why I didn't, you know, stick with it, I think through, you know, consistently throughout my life was that, you know, there wasn't a future, right, in disc golf. You know, there was maybe 5 guys that were making money playing disc golf, you know, Ken Climo and Barry Schultz, and those, you know, those guys, you know, you weren't making money unless you were the manufacturer or you were the top, you know, 5 touring guys. So, you know, it wasn't something that I, you know, I took that seriously. You know, I didn't think, you know, there was any future in disc golf, right? It was something to play recreationally. And, and then now to it's within 2 years, to be traveling to different tour events, to sponsor tour players, and be, kind of in and out of the scene is just, I don't know, it's unbelievable. It really is. Like I never would have thought in a million years that, I would actually have a business in disc golf, and the that's the rewarding feeling, is to stick with the sport so long, to be a part of it for so long. And then now to have the sport, take care of me is just, it really is surreal, honestly.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how much the sport has grown, especially in the past few years, of how much this is blowing up. So it's definitely interesting and awesome, really. What got you into disc dyeing?
Well, to kind of add to that, I think we're, you were saying the sport's grown. I think we really have the pandemic to thank for that, which I think it's weird to say, but, I think we have the pandemic to thank. It was one of the only things you could get out and do, with your friends and stay socially distant. But that was kind of where it started. I was working at there's a brewery here in Roscoe Beer Company, and I'd been bartending there for about 3 years. And when the pandemic hit, everybody kind of shut down. So I was at home, and I had seen on Facebook, I don't even know how I came across it, like what the luck was that this image popped up on my Facebook feed, and it was a dyed disc, with flames running around the edge. And I have an artistic background. My dad was a woodworker. My mom was always super crafty and whatever it is. I went to when I did go to college. I was an art major. I was an art major through high school. So I kind of I knew I could do it. I thought it was very interesting, and I was like, well, I'll give it a try. And I pulled my discs out, and I messed up a bunch of discs. Honestly, my first dye wasn't that horrible. I sent you the picture there. If I'm not mistaken, that is a Raider with the little mini Huck Lab stamp on it, and that was my first dye. It was a lotion dye, and I had no idea what I was doing. I think all I did with that, or what I did with that, was, I'm pretty sure it was iDye Poly. They're blue, and I mixed that with acetone, and then I just straight dripped it on top of the lotion. That was it. And I just took that and ran a skewer through it and set it down in there, and that's what I got. And I was kind of hooked from there. I just little little tweaks here and there, and then just it kind of just steamrolled or snowballed, one of the two. Snowballed, I guess we'll say. And the Dyers group ended up finding my way to the Facebook Dyers page, and once you get in there, it just explodes. I remember seeing that page for the first time, and I was just blown away. I was like, how is this even possible to do on a disc with what I had in front of me and what I had done? I was like, how is that possible? And I screwed up a ton more discs after that. I still have the box. I'm sure a box of discs upstairs that is just all the ones that we don't talk about, all the ones that didn't make the Facebook page or the Instagram page. There's plenty of those, and I'm glad I saved them, because I think those are actually going to be, we kind of mentioned I'm building a disc golf course here, but those are all going to be donated to the disc golf course, and anybody interested, I'm going to try to get as many discs to them as possible, so people could maybe go rent discs or whatever, however it's going to work. I'm not sure just yet, but I started, obviously kind of following the, in the footsteps of the guys before me. When I first started, it was super hard to get any info. Everybody was tight-lipped. And this wasn't that long ago, honestly. Like I said, it was the pandemic. I dyed my first disc. So, yeah, everybody's methods were super tight-lipped. It was real hard to get any information out of anybody. It was kind of like you got a little bit of information, but then, you had to fill in the puzzle pieces yourself. All the gaps you kind of had to fill in, and that's where I just experimented a bunch. I really took a liking to Brian from Pipe Dreamer, and we ended up, starting a dialogue back then. I worked with him a little bit, and he kind of gave me some tips, and I really just enjoyed doing the glue beds. And from there, it was just kind of finding my own style with those guys. Matt from Beefy, he was an inspiration. Such a good dude. And, seeing his work, really inspired a lot of mine. It kind of seemed like we were going back and forth and just trying to outdo each other. And that probably wasn't true. That might have just been in my head. But it really, motivated and pushed me to really kind of hone in my skills with that. But, I'm also one of those guys, like I can't just do one thing. It's real hard for me to just do one thing. Like I get bored really, really fast. And, it wasn't very long after I started dyeing that I got the Cricut machine. Cause I think I did 1 or 2 hand cut stencils, and, I was like, no, this is not the way to go. I had to order one of those, and that's really, that's a game changer in anybody's dye game. When you get one of those things, it really just opens up a lot of opportunities. And so I wanted to be, my goal as a dyer is I wanted to be proficient in as many different styles as possible. Just because that was where my interests were, but also, I knew that at some point, if I was going to really get serious with this and start a business, that, I wanted to be able to offer any of my customers whatever style they wanted. I didn't want to have to, I hated if somebody asked me if I could do something and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. Like that just drove me crazy. And, so yeah, that was my goal as a dyer, is to just, I haven't mastered anything, but to be as proficient as possible at every different style, and we keep seeing new styles. So I haven't, I don't think we're going to reach the end of any road here. It just keeps getting better and better and better with everybody's different styles and what they bring to the table.
You say you're not proficient in something, but I think that's a lie. What would you consider your signature style or method?
That's obviously, I think the glue bed. That the clear glue bed. I think I've been. That's what I'm most known for. I think. That it wasn't intentional, but like the I guess the river of color running through, really kind of became I guess my signature look. It was pretty. It was, I don't want to say it was really unique, but it was fairly unique. Just because I worked so much with it, trying to get these little thin strips of color. Especially with the black, I think that's probably the number one question I got asked, and still do get asked, is how do I get those thin black lines? And that just took a lot of practice and then trying different glues, and with all the different blacks from the different companies, I was finally able to kind of hone it in. But that really kind of, I think, became my signature style, was that whatever contrasting colors, whatever looked really good, whatever popped with each other, is kind of throwing that stripe through there, and it looks cool spinning. Like that's to have that thing spinning on camera looked really, really cool.
Absolutely. So, what led you to that specific style?
I would probably say. I would probably say looking at some of Beefy's dyes, honestly. I think because he was doing some really cool stuff with with his colors and the way he was forming some of his path through, and it really interested me. And I think that was kind of the original inspiration. And then the kind of the wood grain addition to that kind of followed up. I guess as far as where that came from, I would say that's kind of where it started. I'm trying like, it's so funny. I've done thousands of discs at this point, and I'm trying to think like when I could probably go in my Google Photos, and because every picture I've taken or at least every picture of the discs I've taken pictures of are in there, and it's really cool because you can go back and see the timeline and really kind of see all the work and where it came from. But I think that's where it originally kind of that's where I got the idea from and really liked. And then, but I wanted to do something different. Like, obviously, like, you don't want to copy somebody, like verbatim, like, in steel. But I wanted to have kind of like the way he was really making his textures. I really like that, but I wanted to have something that was my own, and that's where that kind of stripe through the middle came from.
If you have to give one tip of how to reproduce that, because I know you've explained it before and you get the question a lot, but if you had to just give one tip right now to get that result, what would that be?
The best tip to get that result is it's hard to have one. There's a few different things that really need to go into it, and one, onyx from ProChem, just onyx mixed with acetone. All the other blacks I've found disperse a ton, right? As soon as you drip it, it really starts to spread quickly. And then depending on, the glue, like they have I think I still have some jugs down here. It's like the Oriental Trading Company, I think was the name of it, that glue, but it's super bad, right? Like, I don't know what the chemical makeup of that is, but as soon as you drip colors on there, it immediately like spreads and disappears. It's really weird. But so onyx black, straight acetone, and then Discount School Supply. That's the clear glue I use. I found that it was the best for the price. Back during the pandemic and maybe 2021, you could get them for $5 a gallon, and I was ordering 10, 20 gallons at a time, and they deliver. It was free shipping, like 20 gallons of glue for $5 a piece. And unfortunately, they caught wind of it and like tripled the price, unfortunately. But yeah, that's another key. So that's a good glue. Elmer's, is a good glue. I think the Michaels works. I don't know if I like it as much, but the Discount School Supply, really works well. But those are kind of the two tips. Like, if you want that result, if you don't want it to spread out, to get those thin black lines. And then, the last thing is, where you're dripping your colors, dropping your colors on either side. Obviously too close to the line, it's going to overtake. Too far away from the line, you're going to have that clear gap. And then I think last is the, I use, and we sell them on the website, and I honestly, I don't even know why or how I came across it, but it's this big syringe, and it might have just been like one of those things where, like, I don't have anything here right now. I was looking for a pen to take apart, or, I don't keep straws around the house. So I was looking for something to manipulate the bed with air, and for whatever reason, I think maybe I saw that and popped the plunger out and started using that, and I've used it ever since. I just find that it allows you to, with less effort, to put a stream of air down on the glue. When you blow through a straw and it's the same size on both ends, you end up like hyperventilating because you're blowing all the air out of your lungs. But if you do that, it with much less effort, you can put a better stream of air on there, and it's a lot more controllable.
Well, thanks for sharing those tips. I remember I watched a few videos of yours when I started the glue bed stuff. Why do you like glue beds?
I think, I think it was one of those things that when I first started, I was doing the clear glue beds and I was doing the some lotion beds, and it was more of a necessity thing. When I started to think about, how, if I really want to do this and I really want to make a business, you have to think about, your material costs and all that. And it kind of seemed like with everything, that was the cheapest way, because I can get out of a gallon of glue, I get about 10 to 12 beds out of a gallon of glue, depending on, it also depends on what kind of your disc you're putting in there. If you're putting in a domey driver or a flat putter, you can use significantly less glue with like a flat putter. But that was like the thought process. And when you mix up, you get a gallon of acetone and, you mix all your bottles, that lasts a while. Those things last a while. So you were using very little product to get a really bright, vivid color, better colors than I was getting with, at least I thought, like better colors than I was getting with lotion at the time. So it was kind of the best bang for your buck. And, I just kind of took to that one first, because it really, like with the acetone and the glue there, like you really got some bright, vibrant colors, and it just kind of stuck with that. And then once I got the hang of that, and I started to kind of sell more, because it was a slow process. I still worked at the brewery for a long time, so it was really slow. I kind of, I would sell a disc or two here and there, and then it just kind of progressed. I would sell maybe 5 in a week, and then 10 in a week, and slowly but surely was able to kind of make it a full-time gig. But the glue bed was just more of a cost to turnout kind of thing, and I was able to to finish it. I could do a couple of them, let them sit overnight, and it's they're easy to clean up and wash, and I was really getting good results of that. So that's kind of where that came from, or at least why I stuck with that.
So you mentioned you get bored easily and like to try all different methods. What all methods have you tried so far?
God, pretty much everything you can think of. Shaving cream. That was one of the first things I'd ever tried, was the shaving cream. If anybody's getting into dyeing, that's one of the easiest ways, the cheapest ways. If you just want to play around and get some, cool looking results. A little bit of masking and a shaving cream bed, you can really get some cool results. But I've done that. Lotion was a big part when I was first starting off. I really wanted to figure out, I think it was Adam Downs that does the flames on the rim of coming in. I really wanted to figure that out. So that was when I started getting into lotion and kind of doing that style. The any kind of the masking or the vinyl stuff when I got the Cricut cutter. Hot dipping, obviously if you're doing the vinyl, hot dipping comes into play. So then you gotta learn that and bring that in. And I think the last one that I really got into, like I tried cells a couple of times. B-Dub was the first guy I saw doing cells. And I was actually lucky enough to meet up with him at DDO for the first dye academy that we did back in, I guess it was 2021. And he was there, and I saw some how he was doing his cell stuff, and I tried it a little bit. That one I wasn't as comfortable with for a while, and I was kind of busy doing other stuff. So I didn't really get into that one for a while. And then finally hand painting, I guess, lotion and hand painting. I've done those as well. I think the reason I tried the hand painting first was because I'm not very patient. That's another thing too. I'm not super patient. So, when I saw like Keith will take 3 weeks or a month to do a disc, and for one disc, I was like, hell no. I can't do it. So I think one of the first ones I did was this. It's like this koi fish, and I wanted to get it done in a day. I was like, I don't want to hand paint with this lotion, then let it sit overnight, and then do another color, let it sit overnight, then remask, then this and that. I was like, what? I'm just gonna see if I can just paint this thing in by hand. Why not? And it turns out it's not super difficult. I know how to. I've worked with paintbrushes, obviously plenty, so that wasn't an issue. It was more just figuring out how the medium worked and how it went on, and then how to mess with if you make any mistakes, figuring that out. So that's kind of how I came across the hand painting, was just really just lack of patience and wanting to get stuff done. And God, what other styles are there? Like I'm trying to think. This, lotion, clear glue. You could do white glue, hand painting cells, hot tips. I think those are kind of your primary, styles, And then it's just figuring out the little techniques within those styles.
So you're pretty well versed. Is there anything that you would like to explore, develop, or learn in your dyeing journey?
I'm well on my way. I got a pretty good hold on the different styles and what I'm doing. I think it's just refining stuff. The one style that I don't do super often that I'd like to get better at is the way Keith does stuff with the lotion, and a lot of guys are doing this lotion painting. I just don't do a lot of it. Mine. I do mine with a heat gun too. So kind of getting a little bit better at that for sure. Honestly, the biggest part of my dye game I need to improve is patience. That really comes down to that. Taking a little bit more time, and really that just comes down to how many orders I have. Do I need to get stuff on the shelf and in the store? Am I going to a tournament to vend at a tournament? Am I doing stuff for the sponsored players or for OTB? Whatever. Really kind of plays an effect on what styles I'm doing, because if I need to churn out 100 discs in a week for a retailer, then obviously lotion painting is not going to be in the cards for that batch of discs. So that really has a factor on it. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest. The biggest thing I'd want to improve on is my patience more for my the pieces that I can take time on, is slowing down and really, because I love doing pieces like Keith does with the style and the complexity. I absolutely love it, and I've done pieces like that, but it's so hard because you're like, all right, I can spend 4, 5, 6 days on this one disc that at the most, I think the most I've ever sold a disc for is, I think maybe $200, $150 to $200. That's the I actually have a YouTube video, the Dragon disc. I did a YouTube video on that one. But yeah, it's 4 solid days of work, so it's just tough. Like in those 4 days, I could do 80 glue beds and have those, turned out. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah. If you want to make money, don't get into the stenciling and detailing. I mean, it's fun and enjoyable, but it's hard to make a profit on those.
It is. It's nice if they're like right now it's kind of the off season, so I wouldn't say downtime, but I'm not doing retailer stuff. Currently, at least I don't have any orders right now for retailers or anything. Like everything's kind of real slow right now. So it's really nice because now is a good time, or has been a good time to take a lot of commissions, and take ideas from people, and then even just do stuff that I want to do. That's kind of, it's easy to lose that. So, when you're busy doing stuff for everybody else, it's very easy to lose. The last thing I want it to feel like is a job. I like that it is my job, but I don't want it to feel, and it happens all the time. Like it happens with everything you do in life. There's just days that you wake up and you don't want to do it, and that's fine. But I don't want to resent dyeing discs. I love it too much, and so it's nice, like right now, to have some downtime and to really be able to play with, new different styles, experiment stuff. Maybe have some new styles that you can bring out for the next season. But it's tough to make money on that. Like unless what I like to do is I'll wait until I get about 3, 4, 5 commissions, and then and kind of work it all. Then it's nice when people send me like 8 discs and they just want glue beds, and I can knock those out in a couple of days and get those back out. But yeah, it's definitely tough. Like Ryan Smiles with Rye Guy, like it is like his work is just incredible, number one. And I know that's one of the things, like when I see him working on those discs and the quality that comes out, I'm like, dude, how do you not charge $400 for a disc? Like, like I see how you're doing it. Like I've watched, I met him at the second Dye Academy we did at DDO, and was lucky enough to work with him there and to see him do it in person. It's incredible. The discs and his art is absolutely incredible. But it's like, yeah, dude, you got to charge, hundreds of dollars for a disc. Like it's worth it. The work, like I've seen, commercial art, and commercial art, I just mean like canvas and paint kind of thing, and like acrylic pouring and stuff, like, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 for these paintings that don't take as much time as Ryan takes on one disc, or Keith or any of these guys. But anyway, I went off on a tangent there, but
yeah, it's crazy how much time and effort dyers put in a disc, and I feel like a majority of the dyers are really underpricing their disc for the effort and time that they put into it. It's kind of a bummer because people most likely want to throw the disc, so they don't want to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a disc that they'll just throw in the water. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think people should be charging more for that. And I feel like creative stuff in general is pretty underpriced. Just to kind of compete with the market, people just lower their stuff, which is not the greatest thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough because it's not a huge sport yet. It's really grown, obviously, but it's such a the entry level to the sport is so like easy, I guess, and accessible to people. So you have people of all, it's not like, a sport like, ball golf, where, it's primarily, people are well off and it's been around for so long, and you could probably charge a little bit more. That's kind of one of the toughest things, I think, as I was growing my business was, where's the price point at, materials in versus materials and time in versus the product out. Because my whole goal through this was like, I want people to get something they're just absolutely stoked about, that they don't have to break the bank, to get. And they're not going to, because I want every disc that I put out, I honestly, I want people to throw it. I want them to go show it off to their buddies. I want to get that joy out of it. So, I really try to, really put out, I want to put out the best quality product, for the, for a fair price, Because for the longest time, and I still do now, honestly, for the longest time, I bought everything retail. Like every disc that you saw me put out, I bought at retail. I paid taxes on, I paid shipping on, so by the time I get the disc, I could be anywhere from $17 to $30 into the disc. And then, if I mark it at $50, people are like, it's too expensive. And it's like, I get it, but it's like, it's also, that took time and effort. And if in the end of the day, after shipping and all that, what am I making? $15? $20 on, if I really get a good margin, maybe $20.
Yeah. Disc golfers are cheap bastards in general, and you're basically working for peanuts. If you're willing to share, what do you typically price your discs at?
Everything on the site right now, as far as my glue beds, are I think 35. I've been able to, and it's real slow right now. And then a lot of the stuff I had, I was kind of just playing with, or they were off colors that I wasn't sure about. And they're still all good discs. They're not the most desirable, I think, molds. So I have a lot of them priced at a pretty decent price point. But I try to stick to around $40. It really depends. If it's a tour series and, I had to pay, I got to pay $25 for the disc, and then I got to pay $5 for shipping, and I'm $30 in, I got to charge a little bit more than that. Like glow plastic is the same way. Like I have to charge a little bit more. It's not that I want to turn anybody away, but, I don't remember who I heard it from, but it was one of those, sayings is like, you want repeat customers. It's like, don't lower your game to be able to sell to anybody. Like find the customers that like your work and then just keep getting look for those kind of customers. And most of my customers, they're fine paying the prices that I give them. I try to be super fair. I actually just did a Patreon video, and it's kind of about taking commissions and the whole process of taking a commission, and in the points of communication between you and the customer. I'm always super transparent. Like, hey, this is going to take this. It's going to take a lot of vinyl work. It's going to take design work. Because it might take me 4 hours to just do the design work. On the disc just to get the cut file. And that's before we even really get to the dye process. So it all comes into play with the price. But yeah, I try to keep it fair. $40 is kind of my, I feel like at that price, you're not breaking the bank. If you do happen to lose it or throw it in the water or whatever, you're not heartbroken. You didn't just throw a 2015 Sexton into the water. Like it's not a huge loss to throw that in. And then, from there, essentially the price goes up from there. And that's my live events. That's the easiest way to do it too. That's like $40. If you go, hey, give me 220s. I don't have to deal with change. And that's been the best thing, especially for selling live, $40. And I take a loss on some discs, and not so much on others with that price point, but it's super easy. As far as, when you're at somewhere like Maple Hill and you're seeing hundreds of people a day, coming by the booth, that's just it's a nice price point.
There you go. Yeah, I feel like it's a cat and mouse game of you lower your price to get more customers, to do more discs, to make money, or you raise the price and have less customers to, kind of get the same profit. But yeah, people should charge more for the discs. And
I definitely think so. Yeah.
The people that like your work will buy it.
Mm-hmm. The toughest thing is, I think, and I don't have before I go into this, like, I don't have a problem with any retailers that I work with. I think that's kind of the tougher one, because you kind of have to look at the history of dyeing and the guys that were doing dyes. you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and what they were charging, retailers and stuff to do these, they might only charge, a couple of bucks per disc. That's another tough one too, is, working with retailers. If any of you guys are working with retailers, make sure to stand your ground on a price. I think, the retailers, that's one of the things I stress when I work with a retailer. I'm like, look, I want us both to do good here. I want you to make some money, and me to make some money. I think that's where I don't take, it's not a loss technically, but, if I do a batch for, a big retailer, I'm maybe, my bottom line is $10 a disc. So if I can, if they send me, 60 discs or whatever, I try to keep that bottom line around $10 because I want them to be able to make money in the end, and I make a little bit of money, and it works pretty well.
So I have no experience working with retailers. How is it working with retailers, and what kind of terms do you have between you and the retailer?
So far it's been super easy. I've worked, I guess the biggest retailer I've worked with is OTB. They'll send me a batch of 60, to 100 discs. That's super easy. They don't give me any kind of, it's not like, hey, get these done in a week. I think everybody I've worked with so far, at least, is pretty, accept it. They know the artistic process takes a little bit. You can't force art. So they've all been very accommodating of the pace that it takes to do this. But yeah, it's I enjoy, I like the retail side of things, just because it allows me to experiment. Honestly, I think that's probably how I was able to learn so quick, was when they send me $60 and they're like, you can do whatever you want, or when they send me 60 discs and they're like, do whatever you want, it just allowed, when you're doing 20, 30 discs a day, beds a day, you have the time to experiment. It's tough when you're just doing one and you're like, oh man, I really don't want to mess this one up. But when I have 20, there's going to be some that aren't as good or I'm not as happy with. But then also, I get, out of those 20 or 30 discs that I did, when I clean them off, there'll be 5 or 6 that I'm like, holy shit, this, all right. So, and then that kind of gets the ball rolling. All right, I want more of that. How do I elaborate on that style? How do I, can I do this style with different colors, this pattern, how do I, so I think I really was able to progress rapidly, because I was fortunate enough to be able to work with retailers and send them stuff.
And speaking on the commission topic, has there been any unique or memorable commissions requests that you have gotten?
Yeah, I think at least the one that comes to mind, there's been several, but the one that really comes to mind was somebody sent me, their friend's father had just passed away and they played disc golf a lot. They always played disc golf with each other. And they sent me, they wanted a picture. It was a silhouette of his dad hitting a baseball. So it was just him holding a bat and swinging. And they just wanted that silhouette on a disc. And I think that one was the first one that comes to mind. I know I've done more. If I look through the pictures, I could definitely, because I've had a number of people I know that they've sent me messages with similar kind of stories where either somebody's passed away or, I've done a number of marriage discs. I actually did, when I did, right before I did the OTB Open discs, you know, and honestly, look, let's get it out there now on a podcast. I'm solely responsible for Simon joining MVP. Let's admit it. I dyed the trophy disc at OTB Open. He held that thing and he fell in love with it, and that's when he knew he was moving to MVP. All right. So I just want to put that out there. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But anyway, right before that, I did a marriage proposal disc. Like I've done like wedding discs and stuff like that. But this was the first one, which is really cool. It was a wedding proposal disc, and I had the video. I don't remember it exactly, but I think they went and snuck it in the basket, and she got it to ask her boyfriend to marry her, and so that one was really cool. I hadn't seen anything like that before, but yeah, they ran and like switched it out of the basket, I think, and did the whole proposal.
That is awesome. And it's cool that you could be part of basically their life experience.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting Simon join MVP, because that was a great move. And great dye on those discs anyways. They looked killer. I
really enjoyed it. I thought they came out really well. Like, I hate that, that you know, MVP and OTB took such a hit with that. You know, yes, it wasn't like a big, you know, wooden trophy or a big, I don't know, thing. But it was fun. It was unique, and it was really cool that I was lucky to get involved with that. And really cool to go out there to California and you know, hang out with Keith and go and meet some of the pros and see Luke and check that out. But I enjoyed it. They came out great, and I think that was just the fuss that they thought the trophy should be. I don't disagree. Like, I think, you know, these guys get discs all the time. You know, I think maybe the amateurs, maybe they get the dyed discs as a trophy, and you give the MBO champion something a little bit bigger. But I think it's really cool that you know, I think it was 43 or 44 discs I did for every division. And we had to that was like that one actually was like a deadline kind of thing. They had to have them all done. So I went and bought two of the little hot trays for hot dipping. I bought two of those and had my stove going. So I was hot dipping 3 discs at a time. I printed them all out. I had them all, I centered and applied the vinyl. Once I got all those done, then I went and weeded every single one, got them all weeded, then did all the hot dipping, assembly line hot dipping, and then went in and did the glue bed behind it. And I think I did those in 4 days. I think it took about 4 days to get all those done, just because they had to be done by a certain time.
To pound out that many discs for that style, that's pretty good in 4 days. Damn.
It wasn't bad. That one, I essentially cleared my schedule and I was like, all right, this is, you know, because it was important, you know, obviously a big major tournament, and we had gotten asked to do them. So yeah, Keith actually, they sent what they wanted on the disc to Keith. Keith kind of messed around in Silhouette and got everything set up, and then he just sent me the files and I knocked everything out from there.
I think they were an amazing trophies because it's the DaddyMac Dyes. His blood, sweat, and tears were put into that, and a lot of effort. So there's that.
Yeah.
Again, great job on that. The next question I have is, what inspires your creations and to actually keep disc dyeing?
You know, a few things. I get inspiration from all over. Like, you know, the wood resin style dyes that I do. You know, I actually, so like I got this case for my phone. I don't know if my camera will, yeah, but it's one of those. They're carved. Carved.com is the name of this company, and they do these wood resin phone cases. And I got the phone case. And I was like, man, I bet I could get that on a disc somehow. So I started messing around, and I already kind of had that river style anyway. And I was like, this can't be too hard. So, you know, then it was just experimenting with the right colors and trying to get the wood grain in there. So, like, you know, that's where that came from, the back of my phone. I got that. The other inspirations is mainly, you know, whether it could be other artists and just seeing, you know, new colors put together in a way I haven't seen before. A lot of my inspiration comes from like accidents, you know, like just kind of experiment. You know, I might experiment, you know, when I have those big batches of discs to do. You know, like I said, I'll get a few that are just like, that I'm like, yes, that's what, you know, I love that, the way that came out. And then I just kind of explore on that style or those colors, or, you know, whatever process I did to get that result, you know, I kind of play with that. And then that, you know, that kind of just grows from there.
So what keeps you motivated to keep disc dyeing?
It's just, like I said, I enjoy doing it. It's a way for me to be a part of disc golf. You know, like I said, I never would have thought in a million years that disc golf would be, you know, my profession, or just being a part of disc golf as a profession. You know, obviously not being a player, but or like a you know, touring player. And then I'm so fortunate and so grateful that I'm able to do this. That's one of the major things that keeps me going. You know, I'm very lucky that I was able to, you know, I was able to take a step back, you know, during the pandemic, and you know, just kind of evaluate everything, and able to turn something I really enjoyed into a profession and a job. And you know, I think just try, you know, just keeping that in mind, and knowing that I could be in another place. You know, I could be in a job that I hate, or doing something that I just really don't enjoy. So I think just keeping that in mind, you know, helps keep me going. And I have bills to pay.
Yeah, paying those bills is a big motivator to make money.
That is a big motivator. Yeah.
But yeah, I like your humbleness on it, because not everybody can make a career out of this, and you know, you're just in the right place at the right time, and things happen. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. What in your mind is the easiest part of disc dyeing and the hardest part of disc dyeing?
The easiest part of disc dyeing to me is the results. I think results day is the easiest part. Like, I love waking up in the morning when I know I have a fresh batch of 20 or 30 discs, like, to clean. I think that's the easiest part. It really, like, sets the tone for the day, and it doesn't even have to be that many discs. Like, just whenever I get to have a reveal, you know, it's like, you know, everybody says it, but it's like, you know, a kid on Christmas. You know, like, you get to wake up and see what you got. So I think that's the easiest part of disc dyeing for sure. You know, the hardest part is you know, honestly, the hardest part is paying the bills with it. You know, that's you know, to be able to balance everything out, because, you know, it's one of those things, like, I've told a number of people that have asked, like, followers doesn't mean dollars. You know, like, it's you know, it gets your name out there, but you know, you still got to put in the work, and it's not like, because even I've gotten several times, I've gotten, you know, complacent, and I'm like, oh man, like, I can just pump these out and people will buy them. And like, even like the last, you know, the last few months have been like super slow. So it's there's a you know, a balancing act, and I think the hardest part about it all is being right, because I do, you know, obviously DaddyMac Dyes and my discs and my YouTube and my Patreon and my Instagram. But then I'm doing discdyeing.com, our social media, and our advertising. I deal with all the vendors. I do all the shipping and orders. I do, you know, keeping track of inventory, finding new, you know, new things to put on the website, working with new sponsors. So being a part of that and like these videos, like, obviously doing this podcast, like it's not a point and shoot and you're done kind of thing. Like the editing that goes into it, all the different takes, when it goes, it's tough, cause I hate not being able to put new content out. I think that's, one of the hardest parts as well is like, I want to be able to put like a new YouTube video out every other day or every week. And unfortunately with all the things that, that I'm involved in and doing, it makes it super hard, to be able to do that and get that new videos and new content. Because it takes days. A lot of people probably don't know what it takes. I might even do a video. That's a great idea. I might even do a video just on the whole process on what it takes to do a YouTube video and to do it at least the way I feel is correct. You can obviously check out my YouTube channel and look at the first video I did, and then the setup that I got now and how far I've come and what you got to put into it and the editing. That takes forever. Just the editing alone, could take days really to get all the edits put together, to go back and reshoot, and all that. But I think just trying to fit all that in to be your own boss, to be the worker, to be shipping and receiving and management and all that. I think that's the hardest part. I need an assistant. I think it's I need somebody to just like schedule everything. Like, this is what you need to do. Yes. This is what you need to do today.
So being a disc dyer is more than just dyeing disc. It's basically running a business. And I think it was Emily from Disc by Emily is you're a content creator is basically what you are. Is you have to create this content to advertise yourself and showcase yourself for the business side of things. So it's again just more than dyeing discs. So
which is great. You can do anything in life. Like, I think that's the one thing I found out about all this is like you can do anything you want to. Like, we're in such a cool time right now because if you want to, you can do what you want. You don't have to just drop everything and quit your job and go do it. But if you slowly, work something, your hobby in, and you just slowly stay at it, you can do anything. You can, whatever it is. Like, we live in this time where you can build your own business, and I absolutely, I love it. I love seeing, I really, the pandemic did that. It really did. It really stopped a lot of people, and it was like, dude, I'm not happy where I'm at right now. And with social media and all that, like, it really, we're really lucky to be in this time where you can follow your passion and do what you want.
I totally agree with that. And that's kind of how the Dyers Guild came about is I just wanted to experiment and try something and bring all the knowledge from all the disc dyers into one spot. And the key to success, I think, is consistency and keep doing it.
Yeah.
And don't get frustrated. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time and effort. Yeah. And you will get discouraged in the beginning. So the tip that I can give is just to keep at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how, in your mind, have you found success with what you're doing? Is there anything or tips or tricks that you could give someone to follow? Or do you think it was just pure luck?
Well, I'd say like timing had a lot to do with it. I'm 100%, or trying to think the best way to word it. Like, I completely understand that the timing had a lot to do with being successful at this. When everybody kind of stopped working and disc golf had the boom, I was just in the right place at the right time with what I was doing with the dyes, to start, because it was really just making a little money on the side, and it just kind of grew from there. So I think timing was one thing. I also loved to do it. It was part of disc golf. It allowed me to play disc golf and to be a bigger part of my life. So it made it very easy to, if you're not passionate about something and you don't love it, that's what keeps you going when you feel like shit, or when you don't want to get up and you don't want to work, when you have an order of 60 discs to do, like it's like that, motivation isn't always there. So liking what you do is extremely important. So, whether that's disc dyeing or woodworking, or if it's fitness or nutrition or whatever it is, like you really have to be passionate about it. It can't be. I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, oh well, I kind of like to do this. I like going to the gym, but I'm not gonna be a fitness instructor, and I'm not gonna be successful at it because like it's not my passion. I don't wake up every day, going, oh man, I want to get in the gym. I gotta go lift weights and tell everybody about it. I think that's a huge factor is really being passionate about it, and it's not hard to figure out. Like if it's just something like I think I knew I'd be able to do this because it didn't feel like work, and it was what I was going to be doing anyway. Like I never expected any of this to be a business. I was just doing this on the side to have fun, and it just grew from there. So I think that's one nice way to tell, if something is a hobby or it has the capacity to grow is ask yourself, would I be doing this anyway? Like if you didn't have to go to work, what would you be doing? Right? If you didn't have to go do this or whatever, like what would you be doing? To enjoy yourself, or I feel like everybody needs a creative outlet. It seems like it's a big issue with just our society today, with going to these 9-to-5s and mental illness and all this. Like nobody has the time to really have this creative outlet and to go back. Like I think we're really lucky to be in this time where we're starting to kind of come around where that's applauded, and it's there's a little bit more time. It's accessible, think about it. 10 years ago, or you couldn't just like, hey, we're just going to start a TV show, and now if, with $1,000, the right equipment, you can, you got this podcast, like you can really, really do some work and follow your passion. And I think it's really important that you have that creative outlet. Because if you don't have that, if you can't express yourself the way you want, it's going to build up. And I think it really has negative side effects.
Those are some very wise words, and I could not agree more with everything you said. And you put it in good terms as well. And in my eye, I consider you successful. How do you deal with all this fame? Because I think almost every guest that has been on this podcast has mentioned your name. If someone dyes a disc, I'm pretty sure they know, oh, DaddyMac Dyes, yeah.
I don't know. It's odd. It's very funny. My best friend, Cassie, from the beginning, she kept saying, and by no means do I think I'm famous at all. But from the beginning, she's like, "You're going to be famous." I was like, "Shut the hell up. Like, I'm not, this isn't going to be anything. It's not going to amount to anything." And, it is a surreal feeling. Like I think the first DDO was the first time anything happened where I got that feeling, and I had 4 guys walk by, and if you haven't gone to DDO and had the experience, it's such a cool event because this whole town just turns into like Disc Golf Central. And the courses and everything, it really is a great time. If you get the chance to go to Emporia, I highly recommend it. But we were outside the art center, and a group of guys came up, and I got pointed out as Daddy Mac, and it was very, very odd, very strange to have people recognize you, and since then it's happened a few times, and I think the most important thing is just to keep a level head. You know, I beat myself up constantly mentally just to make sure that you know, I stay humble and but it's cool. I obviously enjoy it. It feels great. Like why wouldn't it feel great to be, you know, recognized for something that you're passionate about? So yeah, like I definitely get a great feeling. You know, everybody likes to feel good, and you know, when you get recognized for something like that, yeah, it definitely it's gonna make my day better, no matter what.
Yes. Well, all the fame hasn't gone to your head yet. You seem very humble and honest, so keep up with that. How did you meet up with Keith Lempa and help out with the discdying.com stuff?
Okay, so I actually thought about this the other day because I figured you might ask that about Keith and I, our relationship. So, a guy, Zach from Zach's Customs. I don't know if you're familiar with, if you've seen or heard of Zach's Customs.
Yep.
So I'm definitely pulling back the curtain here, so people know. But he started a chat group, and that it was maybe, I think it started with maybe 4 to 6 of us, right? It was Michael O'Hearn, Brian Eckert, Keith, myself, Zach, Mike, and I think the other Zach. I don't remember offhand who, like you know, the original little group, but essentially we had this little Facebook Messenger chat room, and we you know, like any group chat, you know, it was a bunch of shit talking and us, you know, showing off what new style. It was really kind of like, you know, any sport there, and if you interview any famous artists or you know, athlete or whatever, they always have that one part where they're like, we just had this group and we fed off of each other, and you know, that's essentially what happened, right? Like we had this Dyers group, and every night, you know, it was just you know, we were coming up with new ideas and new styles and showing off what we'd done the day before, and that grew and grew. But Keith was originally, you know, one of the members in there. So I think that's how. I think we had maybe messaged each other once or twice. I had maybe asked him a question or two, but like once we were all in that group, I think that's kind of how it really came about. And then, you know, from there. Once I kind of knew, like, I wanted to really, you know, grow this thing and really turn it into a business. One of the biggest hurdles that anybody, I think, in the dyeing game faced then was where to sell discs and where to buy supplies. So I knew Keith already had the domain discdying.com because he kind of had this idea and had it and had this you know. He wanted to have this one spot for artists to kind of show off their work and do this stuff. So at the time, you know, I'm selling across, you know, Reddit, Instagram, and then, you know, there's hundreds of Facebook pages, right? And just selling across all those pages, trying to keep track of all the messages, and who wants what, when, and where, and the emails and all that. It's just a nightmare. And, you know, I called him. I was like, you know, why don't we, like, let's make one spot, right? Like, I need one spot to sell these discs. Like, I'm so tired of making, like, half of my day was just scouring the internet for whether it was discs or selling discs and making posts and this and that. It's like, we need one spot. And that's kind of where that came about, you know. We teamed up. It was the right place, right time. I was making I'm still making just enough to be poor, but like it was one of the, like I just gotten to the point where like I thought maybe I could jump ship and really, you know, do this full time. So I had already had the DaddyMac Dyes LLC. He had the discdying.com LLC, and you know, we partnered up. and really went full into it. And I thought it was really cool when we had 30 artists, and I think now we're over 200. I think maybe 230 artists now that are all on the website. So it was just kind of one of those things where you had to. There was a need for it, and we were able to facilitate that need. And it was just exhausting trying to sell across all these platforms, and then finding the supplies. It wasn't super hard to find the supplies, but just to be able to have all of them in one spot, or at least the main ones. I'm still trying to grow discdying.com as far as like what we keep in inventory, but at least for now, like we have a good supply of kits and dyes and discs for people to buy. The elite kit has really been like the big one. Like I was really surprised because and that's kind of where that came from. So I wanted to do a DaddyMac dye kit, and I came out with a kit, and it really was a flop. I sold like 8 of them, and it was like it was a little less than what comes in the Elite Series kit now, and but it really was just kind of a flop, and it's super tough to you really have to work something to get word out there, and it didn't do as well as I thought. So I ended up breaking that all apart, and then put together, once we started discdying.com, we put together like a real serious kit that really it comes with everything you need to start. Everything except your medium, the glue and the acetone and stuff. But there was a couple people offering those kits, sort of like, but it was real tough to find really everything all in one. And that's been really cool because it really is a good kit to get started, and you get the key kit, which is like 6 base colors, and then the DaddyMac Dyes color kit. So you get a pretty wide variety of colors, and then everything you need to get started.
That is awesome. So if any of you listening need blank disc, dyes, or dye accessories, head to discdying.com and help Chris get some tomato soup and grilled cheese on his dinner. Selling physical product in general is hard because it costs money to have an inventory of stuff to sell. Mm-hmm. So what does Keith do? Because it seems like you do all the work.
So it's tough. It's a saturated market. It really, there was the disc golf boom, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to sell everything. I kind of think we're in the aftershock of that right now, where like everybody jumped on the the disc golf train and started their own business. So it really had to persevere, and that's what we've done. But no, Keith, in all honesty, I wouldn't be here without Keith. He kind of, like I said, he already had the domain, and he really is the financial backer to start all this. And I think it's only fair that I do everything else. He's the reason that I'm even able to do the discdying.com side of things. So yeah, and honestly, like I just, it's what I enjoy. I've been in sales, I've been in customer service, and I was a waiter, bartender for more years than I care to admit. So customer service and hospitality and all that, I'm just familiar with. So being able to just talk to and relate to people, trying to be fair with what we sell and how much, and talking to vendors and this and that, like it's all within my wheelhouse, and I am super passionate about it, and I want it to grow. So it fires me up. Like, especially like right now is like the juiciest part of the season, because it's like all the new contracts are getting signed and you see who's moving where. The new discs are coming out. We're figuring out like what events we're going to be attending, and who we're sponsoring, who I'm sponsoring. This year it's really cool. I got Drew Gibson, obviously Luke Humphreys. Luke and I have worked together for a couple of years now. And then Stacy Ronsley, who just moved to Castaplass. So I'm super stoked about that. And to actually have kind of like a little team, if you will. It's the funnest part of the season, because you're constantly, you're emailing, and you're doing all the things and talking to different pros and retailers and manufacturers. So it's super exciting right now.
That's awesome. So you're the muscle to Keith's brain.
Hey, you're right about that. I am not the brains of the operation.
No, that's awesome. And I really do wish the best success for discdying.com, because like I said, it's tough, and everybody and the mother has or are selling discs. So that's been difficult. And I also feel like now dyers selling their discs are getting pretty saturated as well. So it's becoming a tougher market.
It is. And, and I'm, honestly, like, because I've noticed it, because I've taken a hit, over the last year, because we created our own problem, which is fine. Like, this is the whole reason. Like, we wanted a space for people to sell and to be able to direct traffic to artists. Like, instead of, all you have to do is go set up your marketplace, and we take care of the advertising. Like, we're the ones that, we work with, we're going to be working with GK Pro again. Obviously, most people saw our ads last year on the skins. We're looking to ramp that up even more. This year we're gonna do some more advertising. Hopefully, have some spots on Pro Tour events, and that's really our purpose is to drive traffic to the artists. Obviously it's going to be super tough. Like, this is like, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm one of the bigger guys in the dyeing industry, at least selling dyes, and it's tough for me. I have a pretty good outreach, and I work with pros, and it's tough, to be able to do this full time. So anybody just starting off, if you're just looking to do it on the side, that's the reason we created DiscDying.com, is to have one place so that everybody in disc golf knows, if you want a dye disc, go to DiscDying.com. We charge less than anybody else out there to unless you want to buy your own website, which is totally cool. It doesn't, and we actually have a lot of people, like, I had my own website and I just linked it up with DiscDying.com, and it's a forwarded address. So DaddyMacDyes.com is, it's going to forward you to the DiscDying.com website. We charge less of a commission than Etsy or anybody else, and we do that on for a reason. We want artists to make as much money as that they can, and we don't want to take that from them. Obviously we have to have something, because we have to run the business. Like, we have to, we got to keep the lights on, if you will. And I think we keep a pretty modest amount, as little as possible. So that the artists can hopefully thrive, and we get eyes on them. That's our goal.
Again, the DiscDying.com marketplace was a fantastic idea, and just, it makes a lot of sense. It's your one-stop shop for people who want to buy dyed discs, and I also like it because dyers don't have to necessarily set up and create their own website or go through Shutter's Etsy. So it's simple and easy for the dyer. So great idea, great timing. So
that was the goal. And then we're constantly evolving. Because we work with another guy. We brought another guy on this year, Raul, who is a phenomenal web developer. He's constantly coming out with new ideas. Like, we have new ideas for the site. We're actually going to be offering custom storefronts this year. It's going to be an added feature. But you get your own custom storefront. So as opposed to it just going to, if you looked at my page, for instance, it just comes up, like DaddyMac Dyes is the seller, and then it's immediately, the discs the items that I have for sale. But we're going to be offering like premium storefronts. So when you go to daddymacdyes.com, now it's actually going to be a storefront. It's going to have all, YouTube links, Instagram links, like everything going on, bios, videos, and stuff like that. So you get like a real better storefront, and it really looks like a legit website. So that's one of the things that we're going to be working on, but we're constantly trying to figure out what could be better. How do we drive more traffic to the site? What features are we missing? And that we can add, and that's going to make it easier for not only the customer but the artist themselves.
Yeah, again, great idea, great concept, and I hope everything. When I say I hope everything works out, I feel like it's going to fail. So whatever the positive wording for that is,
yeah,
good luck. That sounds bad still too. Whatever. Do you have any advice that you would give dyers to help them promote their work and to become successful? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit before, but
yeah, when you get into this, you kind of become your own boss. Like obviously we do as much as we can for the artist to drive traffic to the website. But as far as like your personal branding, I had no knowledge of really social media other than Facebook. And I think the only reason I started an Instagram, I think I started an Instagram originally because I really was into to health and fitness for a while and was doing some nutrition training and stuff like that. And it started with that, and then the disc dyeing thing just kind of like fell in my lap, and I was much happier doing that. But honestly, what I did was I just read what other people were doing, to get views, to get likes and your visibility out there. I just kind of studied what other people were doing. It wasn't fun. Honestly, it wasn't fun in the beginning. Like, it's a lot more fun now that I kind of have like a working knowledge of what's going on and how to create, videos and stuff. But it honestly, it required me getting out of my comfort zone and doing some things that, I had probably previously scoffed at. I was like, I'm not doing that stupid stuff, But like, if you want to run a business, like, and it's just you, like, you have to learn how to brand yourself and put yourself out there. And you have to get comfortable with doing those uncomfortable things, whether that's being on camera and doing videos and pictures and putting your work out there, because it takes a lot. Any artist that puts their work out there, they're putting a little piece of themselves out there, and they're leaving themselves open to criticism, and so it takes a lot. So I think getting comfortable with that and just kind of asking questions and reading and studying what other people have done before you helped tremendously. Like I said, we live in this crazy time where you're able to brand yourself, and anybody can kind of create their own brand. So learning those social media, I think learn one would be a tip. Learn one and get good at it, and then bring in another one and work with that one. Don't go, all right, I'm going to start Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, and all, and I'm going to do all these social medias at one time. You're going to burn out real quick, and you're going to get frustrated, and it's going to be super tough. So, my recommendation, for me, Instagram makes it pretty easy to kind of to build and develop a brand. So, kind of getting good at that. And now that they've changed the algorithm, now, we got to be on camera more. You got to make videos. You got to make reels. That whole competition with TikTok. But I think get good at one social media platform, and then start building, the next one and the next one. I kind of right now I stick to just the three with Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I don't really do much. I post stuff on Reddit, from time to time, in the on the dyeing page, and maybe if I'm selling stuff, just to get word out there. But that's about all. I don't TikTok. I haven't really worked into. That. Depending on who you talk to, they're pretty invasive with their app and their software. So
it's just because you're old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but that might be the next one to look at if I'm looking into another one. TikTok it can really boost your visibility real quick if you're doing funny, witty, just quality little content. So I might look into that. I've been so busy with everything else. It's like adding another thing is not so easy right now.
Yeah. So after this podcast, you're gonna go, "Ooh, TikTok." Then you're gonna get sucked into it.
After this podcast, it's meeting with GK Pro.
Awesome. So the listeners that are listening, to give you motivation, if Chris and I can do this, you can too.
Absolutely. I'm a big dumb animal, ladies and gentlemen, and I never in my number one, I never thought I would ever start my own business. Like that was never even like a thought until a few years ago. And so yeah, I 100%, if I can do it, you can do it. Like holy cow.
The next thing that I want to talk about quickly is vending at events. Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips or tricks that you would give people that would like to vend at events, and how they would even vend at an event, like get their foot in the door?
An easy way to do that, I think obviously number one is to go to an event and talk to the vendors there. You can get, I'm sure, a wealth of knowledge from that. I think the first event I vended at was DDO in 2021, and that was because we did the Dye Academy, and through that we were able to set up our own tables, and to sell our discs, and I learned a ton just from that, like seeing the way everybody else was set up and what they had, the tents, the tables, lights or music, whatever it was. And I was standing in front of a wooden fold-out table or behind a wooden fold-out table, and I didn't have a square reader or anything like that at the time. I had my PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo information like on a laminated card beside my discs, and I think that was a huge learning experience, because after that I got the square reader, it was a nightmare. Like, oh yeah, just PayPal me here. Type this information in. Oh, did you send it? Yeah, I sent. Oh, I got bad service. Oh, and it, an absolute nightmare. Or some people are like, oh, I just, I have a card. I don't have PayPal. So, that was a big one. Having a quick, easy payment portal works wonders. And really, when people can just boom, hit the chip and go. They don't want to. It sounds like predatory, but you don't want to give people enough time to second guess their purchase, right? Like you want, like if they see that and they're like, oh, I want this, you go like, here is the way you can get it, right? Being able to take any, being able to take any payment, I think is a big one. And then I think, the second one that, the second tip is, the more official you look, the better, right? Like it's when you get there and you're ready, like having that 10x10, your branded 10x10, really makes a big difference. When you put that branded 10x10 with the table covers and a flag up, and you put that beside some dude with a Walmart blue canopy pop-up tent that's kind of leaning to one side, and it's one right? Like, it doesn't seem like much, and by no means am I above that, because that's where I started, but it really does make a difference. Like, as one of the spectators walking through, you're like, oh, and they see that, and they see the brand recognition, you're like, oh, they were here last year. Let me, I'm going to go check them out again. And then, I think working The last thing I'd say is talk to TDs. You know, honestly, I think selling at smaller events, it can sometimes be better. Number one, you have less competition with other vendors. There's not as many vendors there. Chances are you might be the only dyer there. So starting off at smaller events is a great way to just kind of see what you need, work out some kinks without, going full on. So yeah, talking to TDs and getting to local, local events that'll have some traffic, I think is a good way to kind of get into it. And then you look at maybe, your bigger events, C tiers, B tiers, and then up to the PDGA events.
Do you think it's worthwhile vending at events?
Absolutely, I do. And more than just a monetary reason, right? Like I've made more connections and met more people being at events. I've ran into so many people that are, oh yeah, you were here last year. And oh man, I tell my buddies I got this disc here from you last year, man. I still throw this, it's still in my bag. I've met countless pros and, other businesses, which is, a tremendous commodity is having a network of businesses that you can ask for advice in certain situations that maybe they've been through. Monetarily, it's not always great, right? Because you got to think about, the costs of, because some of these bigger events, I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but like there's some tournaments where it's $500 to $750 for a 10 by 10. And if you want a double space, you got to pay double for that. So, that's you factor that in, that's $500. Let's say you just want one 10 by 10. That's $500 for just that spot. If it's an event that's you're going to be staying at a hotel, you got to factor that in. That's usually another, depending on how many days, that could be $500 or more. Your gas, your food, and all that. So in the end, you might not always make out. I do think it's still worth it though. With the resources that you're able to come by and the connections you make, I think it's very important. One of our things I think we're going to be doing with discdyeing.com, we're trying to figure out how to do the logistics of it, but we're trying to set up more events where discdyeing.com buys the spot for artists to vend at. So, let's say one artist can't afford the $500 for a spot. And we actually tried this at Maple Hill last year. And it worked. We had a couple of artists come out. And essentially, we bought a big double space at Maple Hill, and we had a few artists all selling their work. They might pitch in a little bit, just to help with the costs. But it gets them in and selling their discs at a major event for cheaper. So, one of our ideas is trying to expand on that and maybe be at different tour stops, have our tent set up, and then, local artists get to, can go sell. But it's tough with that, because then we're talking about like shipping very expensive 10 by 10s across country, and then whoever's there has to take care of it. And so we're trying to figure that part out, but it's something that we're looking into and that we're very interested in, because I do think it's nice to to be able to go to these live events, and if you haven't gone to a live event, to see these guys throw is another level. We are not playing the same sport. It is absolutely incredible. So even just for the experience of going to a major event, I think it's absolutely worth it.
Yes. So for the vendor sharing, I definitely want to try that out as well, and also at events that aren't disc dyeing events, like creative marketplaces. Mm-hmm. Because I've heard that someone vending at a place the first year made a decent amount of money, but the second year because everybody already bought his discs in that local area for where he was vending. So it wasn't really worth it. And I think they tried vending at a creative market, and he said they made more money there than at an event because you're not really competing for anybody. And, all these husbands are bored. It's like, ooh, disc. Let's go check those out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that. And, we don't have much around here. It's like we do have a farmer's market on Sundays that I will probably start, that I might start selling at once I have the course put in. I was actually over there before the podcast. I was starting to map out and flag, the course and the holes and the layout and stuff. But I think, once that goes in and we kind of get disc golf established here in Roscoe, I would definitely like to have, either maybe a setup at the farmer's market or, maybe one of the local general stores or something like that, having, a setup where you can sell. Because there's the town over, a buddy of mine, Brad, he owns like a really cool toy shop. And, he has a few of my discs in there. And so, yeah, finding little stuff like that, I think it's look for every avenue. That's, you might not think, think outside the box, I guess you could say, with, where you're selling.
All right, Chris. Well, I know I've learned a lot. And the next section that I like to do is a speed round to get to know you a little bit more on a personal level. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and we'll see what your answers are. The first segment is favorite fave. What is your favorite band or song?
Boy, that's tough. I would have to. It's so cliche. Dave Matthews. I would have to go Dave Matthews, number 41. It was just. I remember it was such a vivid memory in my childhood. Like my grandparents, when I was younger in North Carolina, they had a house on Lake Norman, and my uncle, who he's not too much older than me, was like this big Dave Matthews guy. And I just remember hearing all that and being at the lake in the summer. So it just it all takes me right back there. So off the top of my head, that's where I'm going. But my music is all over the place, man.
Awesome. Well, it's not a bad thing that you like multiple things as long as it's not country. What is your favorite food?
Pizza. That's easy. I'm a basic bitch.
Awesome. It's got all the food pyramid basically in one thing. Yeah. Favorite beverage?
Ooh, God, eggnog.
Really?
I drink water all the time. That's I mainly just drink water. If I'm drinking probably seltzer water, I drink most. But as far as my favorite beverage that I love to drink, and I don't drink very much of it, obviously, because it's a heart attack in a glass. I love eggnog. Oh man, just a super cold glass of eggnog in a frosty mug. So good.
Well, very interesting. Besides saving children, disc dyeing, selling discs and disc supplies, disc golf, and creating disc golf courses, what other hobbies do you have?
I like to stay healthy. I try to get into the gym a good bit. So it's not necessarily a hobby, but the gym is important to me to be, just to stay healthy. I also do jujitsu. I started that about 4 months ago with my son, Mac. He's always kind of been a physical kid. He likes to wrestle and stuff. So I was like, all right, let me get you into, I think I got just the thing for you. So we went to Renzo Gracie Academy in Middletown, and I signed him up last summer. And after about a month of being a parent sitting on the sideline and watching the guys go at it, I was like, I can't, I got to get in here. And I wrestled a little bit in high school. So just getting back into a sport, and being around a group of like-minded people again, outside of disc golf was a lot of fun. And it is brutal, man. It's mainly all it is just me getting choked out and beaten every 2-3 times a week, but it's quite enjoyable. I really love it. It's a good workout and a mental workout. It really is like this physical game of chess. So that's one thing. And then I just started working with my dad was a woodworker, and so I grew up around a wood shop. So I do, I do carpentry and I do woodworking myself now. But I've also started playing around with like epoxy. I'm gonna start making minis. I've just kind of been looking into. It's always something I wanted to do, like with the epoxy stuff, but it was never I just never kind of had the time or whatever. But I think I really started to have some ideas, creatively with the epoxy stuff, and so I want to start making minis for people. Just a new avenue for my creativity to just kind of let loose. So be on the lookout for those guys. I should be adding that to the repertoire soon.
That's awesome. Well, make sure you don't piss off Chris when you see him, because he'll kick your ass.
No.
But he'll probably give you a little mini afterwards. So Chris, I know I learned a lot, and I'm glad that you took time out of your day to be on this little tiny podcast here. So you'll also be raffling off a disc for this. So when the podcast goes live, you will have a chance to win one of Chris's amazing dyed discs for as little as $1. And 100% of the proceeds will go back to him, so he doesn't have to make money to be poor. So go support him. You can enter the raffle at dyersguild.co/raffle, and that raffle will be live for 2 weeks. So, Chris, again, I greatly appreciate you being on here. You're honest, humble, and an okay guy. So, thank you.
Hey, Dave, I appreciate it, man. I think you got something really cool here. I'd always I wanted to do a podcast, and it was one of those things, like I just couldn't really, I couldn't get a good idea or know where, I couldn't figure out where I wanted to go with it. So it just kind of fell to the wayside. Then when I saw you doing this, I was like, man, that's perfect. Yes. I've always had the idea of, I wanted to do, essentially it's kind of like this, but it's an interview with like different pros. And essentially I send them a dye kit and I interview them while they do a dye. And I take them through how to do the dye, and but I never had the equipment, number one, and then what are they going to be? How do you set up so that people can see, what's going on the table? So it never really came through. But I love what you got here. I think it's a great idea. It's nice getting to know all the different artists, because I see all the artists. There's not many artists that I haven't heard of, at least through the Dyers page and stuff. I see a ton of these people. I recognize names, but it's like names and work. Most of the time, if you talk to me, you're like, "Oh, my name's Mike." You're like, "Great, Mike. That's cool." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so and so Dyes." It's like, "Oh, yeah, I know you." That happens a lot. So it's nice to see this and to really get to see the Dyers and a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's awesome to put more of a personality behind the Dyers name and business name, and just like discdyeing.com, right place, right time. And again, anybody out there, just do it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But all right, well, have fun, take care, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Hey, see you guys.